Welcome back to the new video on political science. This is module 1 and we are covering 1.2.1 topic, which is meaning and definition of sovereignty. We have already covered sovereignty in quite a depth in the earlier videos, but here this topic is specific to sovereignty. Introduction. So let's go through this. The term sovereignty is one of the most important concepts in political science. Similarly, the state was also one of the most important concepts in political science. If you had seen the earlier videos, it refers to the supreme and independent authority, absolute authority. These are the words that we can interchange and use. So sovereignty refers to the supreme and independent authority of the state to govern itself without interference from any outside force. Sovereignty gives the state its unique status as the highest power within a defined territory. So the keyword here is it has the highest power. The word sovereignty is derived from the Latin word superannus, meaning supreme or highest. In political terms, it means the state has the final authority, ultimate authority, absolute authority over all matters within its territory and is not subject to any higher power. That is, there is no higher power than the state. Sovereignty is what makes a state independent, self-governing, and authoritative. It allows a state to make its own laws, enforce those laws, enter into relations with other states, and defend its territory. All the four are very important. Create laws, enforce laws, enter into external affairs, that is, international affairs or relations with other states, and also to defend its territory. Now, let's go through some of the important definitions of sovereignty given by political thinkers. Jean Bodin. This is one of the important definitions of sovereignty. Sovereignty is the absolute and perpetual, that is, never ending power of a commonwealth. Bodin emphasizes that sovereignty must be absolute, that is, there should not be any restriction, and perpetual, that is, long lasting. Harold Laski, he said, sovereignty is that characteristics, that feature of the state in which characteristics of the state in virtue of which it cannot be legally bound except by its own will. That is, it has the power to legally punish and enforce laws, and it cannot be bound except of its own will. That is, Lasky highlights that the state is not legally controlled by any other power. It obeys its own laws. Very important. Next is John Austin. John Austin stated sovereignty is the power of a determinate human superior whose commands are habitually obeyed by the bulk of the society. Austin defines sovereignty in legal terms as a person or a body whose laws are obeyed by the people. That is, the laws enacted by the state is enforced and also obeyed by the people. Dicey. Sovereignty is the power of lawmaking unrestricted by any legal limit. Dicey stresses legal sovereignty, that is the complete freedom of the legislature to make or change laws. Complete freedom of the legislatures to make or change laws. So we have definitions by four political thinkers. In fact, Yeah, Jean Bodin, he emphasized sovereignty must be absolute and perpetual. Harold stated that sovereignty is the characteristics of the state in virtue of which it cannot be legally bound. That is, there is no higher authority than the state. That is, state obeys its own laws. It creates and obeys its own laws. John Austin defined sovereignty in the legal terms as a person or body whose laws are obeyed by the people, that is, by the bulk of the society. And Dicey stated that legislature can make or change laws. That is, sovereignty is the power of lawmaking unrestricted by any legal limit. Now, two types of sovereignty we studied earlier was internal and external sovereignty. Internal sovereignty means the power of the state within its own territory, includes making and enforcing laws, collecting taxes, etc. Whereas external sovereignty means freedom from control by other states and includes the right to conduct foreign affairs, sign treaties, etc. Why is sovereignty important? It gives the state its identity and authority. It allows the government to function without interference. It protects the independence of the nation, and it is legal and political foundation of modern states. To conclude, sovereignty is the core principle, most important principle that defines a state's power and independence. So independence is defined by the sovereignty. Power is also defined by the sovereignty. It ensures that the state is the supreme authority in both internal matters and external relations. Without sovereignty, a state cannot function as an independent political unit. The sovereignty is not just a legal concept, but the soul of the state. So sovereignty ensures that the state is the supreme authority in both internal matters and external relations. Without sovereignty, a state cannot function as an independent political unit. Thus, sovereignty is not just a legal concept, but the soul of the state. With this, we conclude the video here. Thank you very much for listening through. Take care. Bye bye.